Blessings and peace to you. This is SB Favor Thinking Podcast, and my name is SB Favor. How are you doing? It is Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. Another wonderful day and another day to be thankful. And as I always say, if you focus on what is good, then you can project something good to happen. So focus on what is good. If you're out there traveling about, make sure that you are protecting yourself. We are still in the middle of a pandemic. Make sure you're wearing your mask and using your hand sanitizer. We all have to do our part. I always remind you of that because I care. Well, Jackie Draper is here, Rebecca Barreto is here, and Shalita Battle is here, and we're going to discuss sexuality and biases. And I wanted to discuss this topic because there are a lot of people hurting in secret, and sometimes people go to the church and sometimes they want to talk to others about what they go through concerning their sexuality, and sometimes there's nobody to talk to about it. And also there are hate crimes that are going on when it comes to transgenders and people that, deal with different issues pertaining to sexuality. So we're just going to talk about that. How's everybody doing tonight?
Awesome. How are you, SB?
I'm good. Rebecca, Jackie Draper, and Shalita, what's going on?
Hi, Sheree.
Jackie?
Hello. Everything's wonderful. It's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day. So we're going to talk about sexuality and biases. And as we were talking about earlier, I mentioned to you that the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because, there are hate crimes being committed against people that are transgender and people that are gay. And unfortunately, sometimes people, that are gay, they can't go to the church. They can't go just operate a certain way in society sometimes because there is hate. And I wanted to talk about this because people are suffering. I know this is kind of a taboo topic because some people, they don't want to hear about stuff like this. But this is important because they are people too. So, Jackie, have you ever experienced anything where you witnessed someone that was gay or transgender? They was experiencing some type of hate, maybe in a public place?
Well, I've never witnessed it in my physical life in front of me. I was raised by hippies, so even my parents were extremely open-minded. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and they were more open-minded, I guess, than a lot of parents. But I recently experienced on Facebook, mm-hmm. I made a post about a celebrity football player who recently came out, and he used to play for the Buccaneers. He plays for the Raiders now, and he recently came out as gay, and he's a football player. So I posted it, how proud I am, how excited I was and happy for him. And I, under the assumption that everyone of my friends thinks like me, thought that everyone else would just hit like or say yay for him or something positive, and how great this is that this person can, that it's 2021 and you can be a football player in the NFL and be openly gay. I think that's wonderful strides. Yeah. But everybody else would feel that way too. And I started getting comments that were negative. They weren't out and out hate bashing or anything, but they definitely were negative tone, and I was very offended by them. I was challenging them on their, and I had to actually check myself because I was suddenly judging these people for being judgmental. So I was like, well, if I'm going to be an open-minded and non-judgmental person, I can't judge them for being judgy. That is who they are, and that's their choice and their right to be whoever they choose. Right. So right. I don't want to be that person but I legit was inside feeling anger that these people, I was like, how could you feel that way? That's so awful. I just couldn't comprehend it. Right. I didn't understand where it was coming from.
Right, because
why somebody cares.
Yeah. Everybody has a right to their opinion, and so maybe they had an experience where they felt a certain way for a certain reason. So your point is correct, right. But Shalita, what about you? Have you experienced anything where you saw somebody being treated a certain way and you felt some kind of way about it, or maybe you've done it? Or tell me about that.
I've never done it. I just need, I just wanted to know, why. I can't say that I was being judgmental. I just didn't understand. So that was always my question. But I've never really actually experienced someone that experienced hate crime, or I've never seen it, live in my face or anything. But I do know that whether gay or transgender, it's a lot of rejection.
Yeah, it is, and that's sad because they are human. That's the point of it all. They are human, and it's not right for anyone to be hated on because of, their what they do in their personal life. And so, yeah, that's real talk. So, Rebecca, what do you think? I mean, have you ever experienced somebody being treated a certain way, or have you ever been biased?
No, actually. I can't, because I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, actually with an uncle who was a homosexual, open, but I did see a lot of the backlash, from our family, a lot of backlash from a lot of, especially the men in the family, right? And I, growing up and also being a part of the youth in church, I was very close to my uncle. I loved him very much. And I had the opportunity to be around his home at the time. And we're talking about back like in the 1980s. Right. And a lot of his friends and roommates were drag queens.
Wow.
And I met them, and they loved me. I loved them. And as I grew older, and my life changed, in my faith, I could never forget the love that I received.
Wow.
Right? So it taught me, Rebecca, be careful. Love. And that's the stance I take, SB, and on this topic. You gotta love.
Yeah,
gotta love.
Yeah,
we gotta love.
It's so important because I don't like to see people mistreated. I don't care who they are. And like I said, this topic, I decided to talk about it just to shed some light on it. As I was saying to you all earlier, people are suffering in secret. And I just think that it's something that should be discussed so that, especially people in the church, they should have a spirit of love. They should conduct themselves with the action of love because, love is an action word. And so why do you think, Jackie, why do you think people in the church have a hard time with accepting people that are transgender or gay?
Well, first of all, I think that people in general have a hard time accepting things they don't understand and things that they are not familiar with.
Yes.
So I think that was the root of it. And then when they feel their fears are justified with the Bible, if they feel like they can pull something from the Bible that justifies their fear, then they feel like they have ground to stand on and they are the moral right.
Wow.
When in the 90s, in my 20s, after college, I moved to Los Angeles. And I'm Catholic. I grew up Catholic. And I continued to go to Catholic church even in my 20s and not being married or anything. And I lived in West Hollywood for a number of years. And the first time I ever saw in a Catholic church, they hand out bulletins and stuff. And they talk about, at the end of Mass, they talk about different groups that you can get involved in. They had gay ministries. And this was like 93, 94, 95 era. I moved there in 93. So it was so shocking to me, not because I had anything against gay people, but I had not seen a church that welcomed gay people before. And I thought, wow, this is really wonderful. I remember calling my dad saying, "They have gay ministries at the Catholic Church here in LA."
Right.
And my dad's like, "Yep, that's LA. They're usually about 10 years ahead of us out here on everything."
That's true.
So that's what he just laughed, like, style, fashion, everything. They're about 10 years ahead of us on everything. Mm-hmm. And he's probably right on a lot of things. But yeah, so I thought that was what great hope that we had, that that I experienced that hope, that, wow, this is great. And I didn't have any gay friends. I didn't have anyone in my community that was gay immediately. But I did grow up with open-minded parents and was taught to accept. So I thought it was really amazing.
Yeah.
I just have not seen that still to this day, 20-something years later in Tampa, of gay ministries at church. Mm-hmm. But I think it would be wonderful if all churches took a hold of it. And when I was out there, I did, I was curious about it. So I asked some questions about it, and I said, I'm Catholic my whole life. I didn't know it was okay to be gay at church. And the priest that I was asking about it, he said, well, the Catholic Church doesn't believe in having sex before you get married anyway. So
right.
What difference does it make if you're gay? If this is what, God made you gay, then you're gay. And I said, yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, I just
thought it was so nice that they opened they celebrated it there,
Yeah. All people need God. That's the point of it all. Yeah. All people need God. And so that's the point. So, Shalita, what do you think? Why do you think that society and the church has a problem accepting people for who they are? I mean, that's just it, who they are.
Well, I think the church has a problem with it because I think Jackie has spoken about, scriptures. People pull scriptures. So when you read the Bible and you study it,
yes,
you don't have to be a scholar, but you study it, so you're persuaded that what the word says, that's what it is.
Right.
So Christianity, they look at it as the person is opposing against what they were created to be.
Right.
So it's a very complicated situation with the church. Even as a pastor, minister, and leadership, it's very hard to make a decision. How do I go about opening the church to this type of people, to that community? Because am I going to lose members, or am I going to be talked about? Am I going to be seen less of a preacher? So I think that's a very big decision. I don't think that's easy at all because of what the word says. Everything goes back to the word.
That is true. That is very true. Yeah.
But I think Jackie or Rebecca, I think it was Rebecca stated, I want to piggyback off of that. The main thing that I've learned, which I was aware of because I wasn't as judgmental, I just wanted to know why. I wanted to understand their mentality. What happened?
Right.
How do you feel? So with that being said, I knew that they needed love because we're all people.
Yes.
And if that's their choice, then so be it. Mm-hmm. It's up to me, what boundaries are for my life, because I have the authority over my life, but I can't tell somebody else to do what I'm doing with my life.
Exactly. And so, Rebecca, what do you think about that? Why do you think society doesn't accept transgender and gay people a certain way? And the church, of course, as well. The same question.
Right. I gotta say I agree with Shalita when we talk about church. First of all, that most churches are Bible based. And churches preach the word of God. And the word of God does say that man is made for woman and woman is made for man. Okay, right. Fine. Many of us believe in that and many of us don't. That's fine. But that's not the topic today. The topic today is talking about hate crimes, talking about bias.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
It's someone's sexual orientation.
Exactly.
Now, as growing up in the church, I do remember when a poor person came in the church, right? And they sat all the way in the back, and no one went to that poor person.
Wow.
No one said hello to them. Or let's say I remember seeing a bum come off the street. Like I said, I'm from Brooklyn. Come into the church and kind of smelled. And I remember as a youngster hearing, man, you smell that man?
Wow.
Boy, he stinks, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I don't remember anybody going to that person and hugging them and saying, welcome. How are you?
Wow.
Thank you for coming. So I think that a lot of the, since we are talking about the church, has a lot of hung up on religion, SB.
Yes, right.
Hung up on religion.
Yes.
And we need to get off from being hung up on religion.
That's right.
And we need to love every single person of what financial status they come from, educational status they come from, sexual orientation status they come from. And I think that we need to get to know them as a human being and say, hey, how you doing? God bless you. I want to get to know you. Thank you for coming. Right. And that's my stance on that. That's what I believe. And I think that the church, going back into the 40s, 50s, and who knows, back when, need to get off that religiosity mentality.
Yes, indeed.
And we don't need to call out people, and we don't need to put them on the spot in front of people in the church because of their sexual orientation, because that's not showing the love of God.
It's not. Right. It's not. And, my thing is that, people in the church and in society as a whole have secret issues. We just happen to see the person that is gay or transgender or whatever. We see the outside, you know what I'm saying? But we don't see their heart, right? And there are people of all backgrounds that have secret issues, And so if the church or society saw their stuff, do you think they would let them in? But they can go in. Doesn't the Bible say, come as you are? I don't believe that God was talking about the clothes. I don't think he was talking about that. I really don't at all. So let me ask y'all this. What do you think we can do to bring about change, whether it be in our circle of friends, our family, or our church community, or whether it could be on our jobs, somebody that's transgender or gay? What can we do as individuals to bring about some type of change so that, that person that might feel rejected, as Shalita said, because she said that, they are rejected. And that's a very, very excellent point. So what can we do to bring about change so they won't feel isolated or rejected? Because people are committing suicide that are going through that. So what can we do to bring about a change? Jackie?
Well, first and foremost, lead by example. Absolutely. And secondly, we need to not be afraid to speak up and defend other people, and not be afraid to speak up on social media about things that we see people being wronged, or how we believe that people should be treated fairly, and have those public debates, not angry debates, but, make sure that people understand that these are people too. They need love. My son is a third-year college student, and he recently told me that his best friend, that's been his best friend since the second grade, recently came out to him. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, well, what did you say? And how did that go down? What happened? And he said, oh, well, he just sent me a picture and said, oh, this is my new boyfriend. And I said, oh, okay, cool. And that's how I replied. And I said, well, have you talked to him since? And he said, no. And I said, I just want you to make sure that you reach out to him and let him know that this is a big deal for him. You don't understand. I mean, I don't understand. None of us I individually understand, I guess, unless we go through it. But, we don't know what he's going through. We don't know how his family has accepted this. We don't know what's happening. You have been his best friend since second grade. Mm-hmm. You need to make sure that he knows that you're a safe place. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That you are his friend no matter what, and that he can come to you and talk to you and you will always be his friend, because you have no idea how alone he might feel right now.
Right. So Rebecca, what's your take on the change that we could bring about, to someone that might be going through that in the office or in the church community, or just, like I mentioned, within a circle of friends? Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm here. I was thinking about what Jackie was saying about. I like what she said about her. She told her son, just continue to be his friend, and let him know that you're there for him.
Yes.
If he needs you. And then someone mentioned, I think it was you, SB, about suicide.
Yes.
And I remember my uncle tried to commit suicide a few times, and we found him. And he has a beautiful ending, by the way, even though now he's with the Lord. But he has a beautiful ending on how he made some changes in his life and his sexual lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that we need to embrace people, all people. We need to say hi to them. We need to engage.
Yes.
In conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Engage in conversation. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, because you see, you never know who you're going to be a blessing to. But guess what? You never know who's going to be a blessing to you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So yeah, and step up to the plate and stand up if you see someone bullying somebody. If you see someone speaking in a condescending manner to someone, like I said, because of their sexual orientation, or maybe because of their status financially, that's not right. Speak up, say something, and we could do it in love.
Absolutely.
And we could get a whole lot further. And there's going to be a lot of surprises when we get to heaven.
Yes, indeed. Yeah,
yes.
So, Shalita, what do you think we could do to bring about a change?
I think I want to piggyback off of Jackie and Rebecca. I like what Jackie said, because I think the main piece that's missing is love, regardless of anything.
Mm-hmm.
When a person don't feel love, it's a ripple effect. It just affects their whole life, their self-esteem, and it just goes on and on and on. And it can lead to suicide. And that's something we want to prevent, because we're all uniquely made, and their choice, their truth is to be respected. Also, when you begin to, I'm not going to say question, but like she told her son, call him. If you need to ask questions, ask, because that's letting that person know, hey, I still love you, but I need understanding.
Exactly.
And I think when you do it that way, that's a better way, rather than just being judgmental because of the word of God or being biased. I think when you show them, hey, I still love you, but I need to go a little further, because of the love, I want to know why, because I don't understand. I actually had to do that with someone, and we had a very intimate conversation, and I understand her, and it made me love her even more.
Wow.
Because I have some compassion for her, and I didn't know for years, and she was actually getting ready to get married, and I was the only one that was shocked. I was the one that was in another world.
Wow.
So long story short,
wow.
She did get married, and I had to respect her decision. Not only that, she brought her wife up to me and introduced her wife. So I found myself, I had to respect their decision, but I love them both even more. I have nothing to do with their sexual orientation. My lifestyle is different, and we leave it there. As long as I'm expressing the love of God, that's all that matters. And it's not fake, it's real. This is someone that I honestly say, guess what? I love them even more, because now I understand their mentality. When I don't understand, it confuses me. I have to understand the thing.
That's excellent. Yes.
It made me love her even more. as a human being. And I think when people are biased or judgmental or don't agree with each other, that's just a part of humanity. We're going to always get that in many situations, like Rebecca said, whether it be educational, finances, status, it'll go on and on, because that's just part of humanity. But also, you stated earlier, Sheree, sin is sin.
That's right.
There's no less sin, there's no greater sin. And at the end of the day, all we need to do is love and respect. That's it. The judgment, that's in God's hands. And that's my mentality. That's my mindset towards this subject. All I need to do is love.
Absolutely. That's the key thing. We have to love them, not to lose them. Because if we love them, not to lose them, then we've done our part and we've done something great according to what love really is. So, do y'all have any questions? Sure. Go ahead.
I just want to say that when we love people, it can it heals wounds. You never know. I think you stated something, how people are struggling secretly. Mm-hmm. When I had continued to love this person, and here I'm a Christian.
Yes.
I thought maybe she thought I was going to have a different response. But the more I showed the love and concern about when she was sick, I've seen her, she started getting healed from many different wounds in her life. And I just thought that was beautiful. So I trained myself to continue to do that, because love heals everything.
Wow.
It's the best thing. It's the best ingredient we can offer one another as humans.
So would you say you took on a different mindset? Because you used the word train, and I'm thinking mindset. You trained yourself to think differently in the process of loving her, correct?
Absolutely, because I think Rebecca or Jackie said it earlier. We're all human.
That's right.
We're all human.
Right.
We're all human. But I didn't understand her story, so I was a little like, why? Wait, what's going on?
Right.
But when I understood in her mindset, her ways of thinking and why, I said, wow. So a lot of times when I really meet people in that community, I will ask questions because I want to know.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, because I have gone to, in my 20s, I would go to gay clubs and I would sit at the bar like I was some kind of counselor. And I would just, I would just talk to people because I just wanted to just have a conversation about their background and where they come from and what they're about and why, you know what I mean? And so by doing that, I learned a whole lot, and then people would look at me like, well, what are you about? And I would look at people, none of your business. That's what I would say to people, because, I wear my hair short and people would always look at me. And I would sit in the front seat sometimes at church and people would look at me like, yeah, she gay. Right, you know what I mean? Right. And so I don't care what people think. People are going to think whatever they want, good, bad, or indifferent. So that's what it is. But like I said, we got to love them, not to lose them. And so also I wanted to mention that I had a friend one day, she called me. She had went to church. She wanted to go to church. And she went to church. She hasn't been, during that time, she didn't go to church for a while. And she, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she went to church. And she called me up after she left the church. And she was crying. And she said that she sat toward the front. And the preacher that was ministering looked at her during the whole sermon and preached about sin and about gay people and about adultery. And he looked at her during the whole whole sermon. I was like, oh my God, that's terrible. What do you think about that, Rebecca? If somebody did that, if you saw that, what do you think about that?
That's so wrong.
Yeah.
That's singling somebody out.
Yeah.
And can I just interject and ask something here?
Mm-hmm, sure. Sure.
Delita was talking about that you're a person that you like to know the root, right? Mm-hmm. So like, you have questions, right? Now, I can't say that I'm going to go and ask questions, but sometimes like when you love on people, they open up to you anyway.
Yeah.
And I have 10 fingers that I'm looking at right now. And I can count how many people that either at the age of 15 got permission from their parents to take medication for the transgender process. I can tell you the majority of lesbians or heterosexuals or homosexuals, the majority of them were involved in some type of child abuse when they were young.
Right.
And I could tell you that because I know, because of what was told to me.
Right.
And I also could say and attest to this, that when even that happens to you as you're growing up, you begin to question, your own emotions. Okay. And I love how it's important to love, and it's important to embrace, because someone said a few minutes ago, you don't know, if they're suicidal. You don't know what they're going through right now. So what you're going to do, put salt on the wound?
Right, exactly. You don't know what a person is going through. And also, if a person was abused at a young age, that's not always the reason. We want to put that out there. That's not always the reason why somebody chooses to experience that or go through that or live that way. But, as we all agree, we must love people for who they are, and we must treat people accordingly. It is not right to hate anyone. If you don't understand something, if you have a relationship with that person, yes, you can ask questions. If you have a relationship with that person, of course, you don't want to ask stranger questions. But like I said, I used to ask strangers questions because I would be out in the clubs and I just would meet people, and I was curious. I was in my 20s and I would just ask questions, and it was a whole new world of understanding people. And so when I asked questions, it was me just exploring, okay, why this and why that. But I have met so many people and have taken the time to get to know them. And through that experience, I've learned to not be judgmental and not draw a conclusion on something that I do not understand, because people do it all the time. So, and it's not right. And, also I wanted to mention that I don't know if you all are familiar with this, but you remember in the Bible where the lepers, they had their own community. They wasn't allowed to function in society a certain way. Do you remember that in the Bible? Anybody?
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
Yeah, so the lepers, they would come out, and peek. You know what I mean? They wasn't allowed to associate with people, and they just had their own community because they were considered to be diseased. And I think that, unfortunately, that's how transgender and gay people are treated sometimes, and it's not right, But anyway, I thank you all for participating in this conversation, and I just wanted to just shed some light on it. And I don't want anybody to contact me because I'm not using the letters of the alphabet. I'm just saying it the way I know it. I'm not using the LBTQRYZY. I'm not saying all that. I'm just, saying it the way I know to say it. But anyway, do you have anything else you want to add, Jackie?
I wanted to go back to when you were talking about your friend sitting in the front pew, and she felt badly. Now, did the preacher know her personally?
No, he didn't know her. Nope. No, he didn't. No, he did not know her.
I mean, if it were me and I was sitting in the front pew and I don't know this preacher doesn't know anything about me, and he starts talking about sin, and I personally did carry that sin. Because if he's talking about sin that I didn't carry, he can stare at me all day. It would not bother me at all. Yeah. I would just think that he's just focusing. Maybe my lipstick looks good today. I don't know. So I would just it wouldn't affect me at all. However, if I related to what he was saying, because a lot of times I don't go to church every week, but I do. Some days I'm like, I need to go to church today. And when I go, every time the sermon is something that I needed to hear. Right. So if it's me sitting in the front row and I'm at church, or back row and I'm at church, and this guy's looking at me and he's preaching, and what he's talking about, I really relate to. It's resonating with me. I would feel grateful
Yeah.
I would feel like God brought me here, the universe brought me here, the angels, whatever it is in the world that brings us to those moments, and that the God, the universe, the angels were speaking through him. He had no idea who he's talking to. He was saying the words I needed to hear. And I would find it beautiful myself.
Yeah, but in her case, that wasn't the case because there was condemnation all over her. And that's why she was crying. You know what I mean? In her case...
Well, I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't be crying because anytime you're faced with your own sin, I would say most people are going to be crying.
Yeah, it's a difference now because condemnation, crying because you feel the love of God, that's a different type of cry. But crying because of condemnation, that's another type of sorrow. And so she was experiencing the sorrow of condemnation. And in return, she was like, I'm never going to church again. Because I believe that in that moment, she was experiencing the condemnation, which was the content of his spirit, according to how he was ministering. Because, see, there's a difference. Because when you minister and you're preaching to somebody, or you might not even be preaching to them. You might just be having a conversation. If you're talking to that person and your spirit has the right content, your delivery is going to be with love and compassion and empathy. And that person will be receptive enough. They will feel that. So if someone talks to another person and make them feel bad, then guess what? That's the results too.
Preachers talk like that to people?
Well, I've experienced some things in my life, like I said, people looked at me a certain way, and I don't owe anybody explanation of anything that I do, whether it be alcohol or anything in my life. But I have sat in the church and people looked down my throat and they just was like, yeah, I know what you do. I know what you do. And I just I
think that's guilt. That's not, I don't think that's the other people that are saying that. That's you feeling guilty for your own sin.
Oh, you saying I was feeling guilty?
No, I'm just saying in general, when we feel like people are seeing things enough, then I think in general, no, it's people, when we feel like people, they know that I did this, they know that I did that. They don't know anything. You know what you did. And you are punishing yourself.
That is true. That's true.
She was punishing herself. He didn't know what she did. He didn't know that had anything to do with her. She's a stranger. He's preaching.
Yeah,
but
I mean...
She knew she felt guilty and she was punishing herself, and she felt personally attacked but she wasn't personally attacked. It wasn't. He did not know her.
Well, okay, to a certain degree, I agree with you, but on the other end...
Now, if he knew what she did and came at her like that, that's a totally different thing.
Well, the reason why I say what I say about him speaking with the wrong content is because I believe that he was functioning in accusation. And I say that in that order because I have sat in the church and I live a clean life, and I've, sat there and I was serving in the church and somebody was just looking at me like, oh yeah, I know what you did. You know what I mean? And so I said to myself, I can laugh about it. And I laughed about it then, I laughed about it because I'm like, wow, these people really think they know and they really don't know at all. A woman cuts her hair. Now, all of a sudden, she's swinging from a pole. Okay, that's not the case at all. So, once again, judging and having a biased mindset, it comes from ignorance. You know what I mean? And, like Shalita said earlier, when you have a conversation with somebody and you get to know the person, then you get to have clarity about who they really are instead of just accusing the person or assuming something that you really, really don't know. But, we're going to wrap it up, and I appreciate y'all for participating in this conversation, and I'm going to try to do this again soon. So, Jackie, you have anything else you want to say?
No, I think we're good. That was great.
Okay, and Lita, do you have anything else you want to say?
I do. I have one more thing to say.
Go ahead.
So, anything that has its own community, women or men with cancer, diabetics, people with high blood pressure, any disease or dysfunctional thing, they all pretty much have their own community and they stick together. The reason why lesbians and transgenders go through so much because it involves sex. And
excellent point.
I just want to make that a point. That's why they go through so much rejection, because it's almost like if they're, making a fool of the Bible. That's what I think some people think. So with that being said, as we all stated earlier, the key that's missing is love. That's all we need to do is love and respect people's, life decisions.
Exactly.
Because we're not God. I just wanted to say that.
Exactly, because two people that love each other, sometimes sex might not even be in the equation, right?
Exactly.
So,
but on the outside, people are looking in, so the first thing they're thinking, same sex,
right.
Having sex together,
right.
And that's where their mind go. As a human being, that's the first thing. And you said it. Their relationship may just consist of them loving each other
exactly.
to feel whole.
That's right. To
fulfill whatever they were missing. Rebecca said it earlier. Maybe they did get molested. Maybe something happened. Maybe that other person just fulfills that area. We don't know. So again, it's just meant for us to love and respect their decision. And that makes it so much easier.
It does. It really, really does. And so on that note, Rebecca, I thank you for joining us. Rebecca had to go to the side, and so she's not on audio. And but I want to thank you, Rebecca, for participating in this conversation, Shalita and Jackie.
Thank you.
And we're going to do this again soon. And listeners, I thank you so much for supporting and donating to SB Favorite Thinking Podcast. If you would like to donate to the podcast, you could donate at $ SB Favor Cash App. I thank you for listening. And if you need to reach me, you can reach me at sbfavor@yahoo.com via email. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at sbfavor. I also have a YouTube channel. Please click like and click the bell so that you can receive a notification each time there's another or new episode of SB Favorite Thinking Podcast. Please share the podcast with others. Listeners, you have been an absolute blessing to me. Please keep listening and supporting the podcast. And as I stated, please share the podcast with others. You have a good day.